Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla was born in 1856 in modern-day Croatia, the fourth of 5 children. Even from a young age, he excelled at school, partly because of his photographic memory. He eventually attended the Austrian Polytechnic Institute, but when a gambling problem prevented him from passing his exams in the 3rd year, this led him to dropping out in 1878. After working several different jobs, he eventually ended up in America in 1884 and worked for the great inventor of the time, Thomas Edison. However, he left in 1885 when he felt he wasn't appropriately compensated for a design he made for Edison's new DC generator. So he eventually started his own company. He based it on electrical arc lighting, which is one of his patents right here. But when he voiced interest in working in an AC power system, investors decided to fire him, and he spent the winter penniless. He worked as a ditch digger the entire time until he started a new company called Tesla Electric, which was formed off on his invention of an alternating current induction motor, which was his first commercially successful invention. It was purchased by Westinghouse Electric. For the money he gained from that transaction, Tesla was able to start a lab on 5th Avenue in New York in 1891. In that year, he also patented his Tesla coil and first demonstrated wireless transmission. The work he did in wireless transmission led him to later in 1898 to create a remote-controlled boat that used radio signals to steer and control the rudder. His work eventually led into patent litigation with Marconi in later years over radio communication. In 1899, Tesla created the Colorado Springs Laboratory, so he would have room and power for larger experiments with his Tesla coils. But most of the work he did had to do with wireless transmission, and here he demonstrated many such experiments, which eventually led to many of his more outrageous ideas, such as the Earth having a resonant frequency, and possibly even aliens communicating with him from Mars. But the lab was shut down in 1900 in order to settle a debt. So in 1900, Tesla started the Wardenclyffe Tower facility. Wardenclyffe was intended to work as a wireless transmitter for transatlantic communication, but money was scarce from the very beginning, and when Marconi succeeded in sending a message in 1901, in 1902, Tesla moved his New York lab to Wardenclyffe and continued his experiments in wireless power transmission until 1917, when the tower was torn down and sold for scrap to the Marine Corps. Tesla got his last patent in 1828 for a tilt-rotor biplane, which was the first of its kind. But Westinghouse continued to pay Tesla from 1934 to the end of his life as a consultant, even though his inventions decreased. This was a time when Tesla focused on research and worked on projects such as directed energy weapons, transferring power through the earth, and location techniques that were similar to radar, and were eventually proven correct. But many of these ideas were just theoretical, and he was never able to create any tangible inventions from them. Many of his ideas and habits at this time also led many to believe that he was insane, because he became incredibly obsessive-compulsive and had large obsessions with things like the number 3. Tesla died in 1943 at the age of 86 in the New York hotel. He died alone, and he was found 2 days after his death. He died in debt and was impoverished. But due to the nature of his work during that time, the FBI seized all of Tesla's estate to ensure that there was nothing that could be dangerous if it fell into enemy hands. Tesla's ashes were sent to Belgrade, Serbia, and are now housed in the Nikola Tesla Museum. Nikola Tesla is today considered one of the greatest inventors in history. He worked in AC power production and distribution, which is the basis for the electrical system the entire world uses. He is the reason for the modern electrical infrastructure.